want to just real quickly run through the different functions that you would be performing in order to use the HotConference web conferencing system. First off, when you come into HotConference, if you come in successfully as an instructor, you will see these tabs across the top of the middle section: chat, browser, presentation, whiteboard, video, desktop, and 4+. If you don't see those, then you have not come in successfully as an instructor. You've come in as a student, basically. And so you need to figure out why that happened. Your webcam will not turn on, however, until you hit the Talk Now button. You see that it is turned on now. When it's red, it's turned on. If it's green, it's not turned on. And of course, if it's not turned on, you will not see your video. The video comes on. The video comes on for the person who has the Talk Now button pressed down, which you could be giving other people permission. There could be more than one instructor or moderator, as they call them in this program, in the signed in, and so somebody else can just automatically, another person who's a moderator can hit the button. If you don't have the Talk Now button pressed down, somebody else can press it down, kind of like in walkie-talkie format, where only one person at a time can speak, with the exception that if you hit this 4X button and drag some people over from this list that right now only has me into the center section, then you can have up to 4 people speaking, like a panel discussion. And you can give a temporary moderator function to any of your students that you want to, so they can do, as I do with my Korean students that I've been teaching the last couple of years. I can have them do presentations and to give them moderator functions so they can upload their PowerPoint and they can turn on their webcam and be temporarily basically the instructor. And so when I turn on the 4+, I can bring over 4 students and like I said, have a panel discussion, or I can invite some guest speakers from overseas or wherever, and when they sign in, then drag them over into the center section and have 4 people with active webcams at the same time. But normally it's just one person at a time. The other thing is that once you turn it on now, if you're wanting to record it, the record button is right next to the Talk Now button. Right now it says stop because it's turned on, and or you wouldn't be seeing this right now. And at some point I can turn it off. I can also pause it. If I hit this little down arrow next to it, it actually ends up being an up arrow. I can hit the pause recording, and if the phone rings or something, go ahead and stop the recording temporarily. Once it is, when the first time you use the record function, you will get a message that you need to download a program. At KeyMap, that means you're going to need somebody with administrative authority to do that. The first time you load that into a computer that KeyMap has authority over. So whether it's a classroom computer or your office computer, you'll need to download that little program and in order to do the recording. And again, an administrator will have to help you with that. There's one other time when you'll need administrator function that I can think of. That's with the desktop function up here. With the desktop function, which I'll show you in a few minutes, you can basically show anything that you can see on your monitor will show through HotConference. So that is also requires an additional little add-on to HotConference, and an administrator would have to approve that as well. So there are several, and to start with, your administrators, an administrator like Mikael will have to even allow you to use online video, which this of course requires for web conferencing. And most computers on campus do not have permission to do online video. So before you even start with this, you need to get permission to use online video, and they'll take off the block off of your computer that you're going to be using, whether it's again the office computer, the classroom computer, whatever, and allow you to use video. And then those other 2 functions would also, the administrators would also have to approve those. Okay, So with that startup information, let me talk about the other parts of this program and how to use it most effectively. All your students and all your participants will be over in this right-hand box, and so you can see who's in attendance. Uh, just because they turn on, or just because they sign in, doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually listening. And so we'll talk about that too with this chat function that is normally actually underneath the webcam, but here right now it's in the center section. You can type questions and require the students respond to the question. So if they don't respond to the question, that means they're not paying attention. So you can, and also it's good best practices of distance learning not to have a video that's too long without some sort of interaction. So if you're lecturing to them, the recommendation is 5 to 10 minutes, and then do something to require some interaction. So, if I were talking about distance learning, I might ask the question. I could ask it verbally, but also I could type it. Why is distance learning important? And put that in there, and each student who has access to a computer will be able to type in their response, and so you'll know they're listening. And that can be part of their grade, whatever you want to do. There are other options with participation also. You see right up here at the top of the chat box it says your polls. In that case, you don't know who polls, so you just have to count how many numbers, how many people have responded. You can do kind of a real quick survey and have everybody respond to a question and yes or no sort of questions, or actually you can do any sort of response you want to. Who will you vote for in the next election? And Nazarbayev or Nazarbayev or Nazarbayev, and they can choose which one they're going to vote for. Okay, so let me in order to get the best product for, say, uploading to Moodle or to YouTube, you might want to close this section over here, this right section, because it's other than taking, well, there's several times when you need it. One is if you're taking attendance, so to speak, and also if you are giving somebody permission to use the microphone or something like that, you'll need to see this area. But if you're not doing that, if you're lecturing or something, then you can hit this little button in here between the boxes and it will close the right section and give a little more space for your presentation area. As I mentioned right now, and by default it comes up with a text chat box. But that's not normally where that would be, or where you would want it to be normally. So normally you'd probably have a presentation, a PowerPoint or something, and so you'd hit the presentation tab, and the chat box now comes over to the left side underneath the webcam video. Over here now, you see this button. Once I've hit the presentation tab, under here it says upload /start PowerPoint presentation. If I hit that, then I see what PowerPoints I or my students have already uploaded. You see there's quite a few because the Korean students all had presentations to do last spring, and so I have a lot of theirs still uploaded there. So if I wanted to upload, I'm not going to take your time now to totally go through the upload process, because I think it's pretty intuitive. You hit the browse button, find what you want to upload. It needs to be something like a PDF or a PowerPoint. Let me see if it says up here. The newer version gives more options, but it's primarily in this older version, which I actually prefer, and that's why I'm using the older version. There's some aspects I like better about it, and so I'll go into that, but right now I'm using the older version. So primarily it uploads PowerPoint into this section. So I'm going to choose one here about the video revolution. So up pops this PowerPoint, as you see here. A couple of items here that you may or may not want visible, and especially since your students are actually seeing, the way I turned on the recorder, they're seeing everything you're seeing. So some of this stuff is in the way. This here is a way to go from one slide to another without going in sequential order. Normally I go in sequential order, so I can turn that off, and there's a little button down here, and that disappears. This drawing toolbar isn't really, we don't usually use it too much in a PowerPoint, but it's available. So you can emphasize something like, circle something or something, and it's just your drawing toolbar. You can do stuff with that. You see all sorts of figures, boxes, circles, triangles, and so forth. It also has a text tool, so if you for some reason wanted to write some more text on your PowerPoint, it doesn't actually save back into your original PowerPoint, but for presentation purposes, it does. And so I don't have, I didn't. This white area here is beyond the edge of the demonstration, I guess. So not going to affect that. Doesn't make a lot of sense at all. I'm going to delete that, um, and I'll draw it again someplace else. There's not a whole lot of room here to draw it in, so I'm going to draw it across in this area. And you just kind of type over where it says text, um, and yeah, who knows? Very, very exciting. Whatever. You can, oops, didn't get that right. So you can also select it, and you can make it bold, you can italics, you can underline it, you can change the color, and you can change the type size. The type size doesn't reflect reality. I don't know what, I mean, like 300 points should be huge, should be more or less the size of the header you see there now at least, and in reality it only goes that big. So I don't know on what basis. Actually, it's anyway, that's as big as they'll get when you're adding text. You can save a copy of this, by the way, not into your PowerPoint, but this button right here takes a picture of what you've done in case you need to keep it for your records for some reason. And if you hit this erase button, then all of that is erased. But if I'm talking, which is normal, and not drawing pictures on top of my PowerPoint, which would be the norm, I can make this drawing toolbar disappear by hitting this button here, and it disappears. To then go forward in your PowerPoint, you hit the double arrow. Don't hit the single arrow. It starts the show and it moves forward at a rate that you set, but not. For example, if I set it here, that is, you go forward every 13 seconds. Well, most of us don't time our lectures to change slides every 13 seconds. So I don't really know why they have that function in there at all. Perhaps, I mean, I could see doing it. I could turn this on. I can actually embed this into a website, and I could turn on a PowerPoint and have the PowerPoint revolving consistently, and people will be seeing a slideshow basically on my web page. But that's about the only thing. Or if I'm starting a web conference or I'm going to have a web conference and it's international and people might be getting confused, I can maybe put some message on this and turn it on and then go away and come back when it's actually supposed to start. Who knows? There's lots of ways that you could use it, I guess, but for most of us, we would not. So if you go hit the double arrow, you see it takes about a second to move forward, a little bit slower than your standard PowerPoint, forward and backwards, but not too slow. But you may want to you need to understand, it takes a little bit longer. When the internet's a little slower, it takes a little longer still, and so you have to figure that into the time that's going to take you to make your presentation. So, yeah, by the way, to close the PowerPoint altogether, I'd hit this square button here, but I'm not going to do that right now. But I am going to suggest some other possibilities here, so I'm going to keep it on a second. If I, for example, some of you are kind of camera shy, and you don't really want your webcam going while you're doing you might say hello to your students, and then you want to get off the webcam. You don't want to turn it off because you need your audio still functioning, but you don't want your video showing perhaps. or maybe you're going to read a script, and so you don't want the student to see you're reading a script. So you want to have more freedom in that. So whatever reason you want to turn off your video, but you want to keep the audio on. There actually, well, there's a couple of, in keeping the same format, you can actually just go down here and turn off the camera. But that then leaves a big blank right here in the corner, and they're gonna see, oh, there's no reason other than him being shy or reading a script for him to turn off the camera. But there's another little button here, kind of like on the right side. When I first hit it, it turns off the webcam. But then if I hit this other one underneath the PowerPoint, then it turns off the chat box as well. And so the full screen is given to the PowerPoint. It doesn't really, I mean, there's not enough vertical depth to make it much bigger, if at all. Um, and so it's mostly extra white space, but it does, as in closing off the list of participants, kind of makes the video cleaner. It doesn't have a bunch of distractions on it. There's your video, and that's all they see, and they hear your voice talking over the PowerPoint. By the way, one other function real quick before I forget. This control panel here, you can hit that, and it'll bring up your functions, forward functions, stuff like that. But then if you want it to collapse and get out of the way of your slide, you hit it again. So that will pop up or down depending on whether you hit that. So you're doing your PowerPoint, and then you think, well, gee, I want them to see me again and talk to them a second face to face, so to speak. You can turn on the video, and if it's working properly, I can hit this button down here at the bottom. So I hit the video at the top and the button at the bottom. And if the server is working properly, and it was the other day, but it does not seem to be right now, it will actually turn your video into the center of it. So I don't know. The other day a message came up and said the server was being, there's some maintenance going on with the server that does that. Okay, so that part isn't going to work, I guess. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. It picks up right where I left it, but the drawing toolbar comes up again, so I turn that off. And I may want to, again, bring down the control button. Now I can go backwards the other direction. I can hit this button back here momentarily and bring myself back up, though, if I want to talk to him a second. And then get off again. You have to go through the same sequence again. So you can talk to him a few seconds and then collapse that section off again. You notice this time it did not require me to turn off the chat box separately. So that's good. It lets you open it up and collapse it again quickly. So you can get off camera for a few minutes if you want to. Let me talk about the other functions besides the PowerPoint, which is probably the most used. Again, you have your chat box. If I turn that on, it'll take the center area again. The browser is to go to a website, and so it's right now set to go to keymap.tv, the keymap TV site that I set up, and it's and so anyway, you can see that. And I think, if I remember right, I can actually show a video on this to the student. I can go to a website that has video access. This actually, okay, so that's showing a video that I created.
Ken Harvey. The communications industry is the fastest growing industry in the world. It is also the fastest changing industry in the world.
If I want to go all the way to YouTube on this, by the way, well, it's not seeing the YouTube connection here. Maybe that's a share button. I don't know why the conference keeps, it says it's going off and on. I don't know, it shouldn't be doing that, so I'm not sure why it's saying that. Anyway, so it doesn't seem to be offering me the option of going, maybe it's down here. I just can't see it. Well, on the real page, you can go directly to YouTube. So anyway, for some reason these embedded videos I can't see them on this shared page the way I'm showing it through web conferencing. It doesn't. I can't go from one from this site to another site to another site without actually doing it up in this area up here. I can go to other sites. So instead of that one, I can go, for example, virtual-institute.us/Ken. Happens to be my CV page. So I can go to my CV, or kind of on my, more than a CV, has work samples and stuff like that. So I could go in here and maybe show them some of the news stories I've written over the years, and pop into here and maybe go to one of the bilingual newspapers that I used to write and produce. Being a PDF, it's a large PDF because it's a full publication. In this case, might take a little longer, but there it goes. So anyway, so you can go any place, pretty much any place. If it's something that's password protected or something, it may not let you go there. So there are some types of web pages you can't go to in this system, but you can go to quite a few different systems. Okay, let's go back and see if presentation is still where we left it. I think it will be. Yep, there it is. Now I'm going to go to the whiteboard. I don't want to doodle on top of this. I want to go to a real whiteboard. Again, we have the, I need to hit the start drawing button. Up pops the toolbar, and now this, I can do all sorts of stuff on here in the whiteboard. If I'm a math teacher, it is a little bit inconvenient. I don't think there's a way to overcome it. You have to, oops. So I go in here and I may have to, once I let go of the mouse button, it stops. So that's a little bit inconvenient as far as using it as a whiteboard. So kind of to figure out how to deal with that. And that's just a line there. So, I mean, I can, if you kind of go back over, I guess you could kind of figure out how to do numbers at least one at a time by back tracing a little bit. It's a little bit inconvenient, but you have a whiteboard for doing what you want to do with. Okay, the video, you can show videos, but something has happened on YouTube and stuff that some videos will showing this and some won't. I have some uploaded here and I can't remember which ones do show, which ones don't show. I think this one was showing okay, I think. Let me try showing that one. So you'll want to test it ahead of time. You have to actually click it once, and then it may give you some option. There may only be one option, but you have to click it again. This is a video that in team teaching the Korean class that Frederick uploaded and used to talk about old videos, or the movies and the history of the movies. I'm going to hit the square button again and stop that. So you see that some videos will work. And now I'm just going to go to the desktop. And that's the last function we haven't talked about other than 4+, and I can't demonstrate that without more people. I'm going to go to the desktop, and that will also require you, if you haven't already done so, to load a little program. And so, by the way, it showed that it turned off the camera. I think the audio is still on. And share full screen. The desktop function allows you to show anything you want to. Now, right now, we're just looking at the HotConference page itself, and so you kind of get the idea. You kind of get the effect of looking at a mirror that has a mirror behind it, and so you kind of have an image with a smaller image with a smaller image, and so that obviously is not the purpose of desktop. The purpose of desktop is to show something else. So it can actually be another website. So you can use it for that purpose. In fact, say it's a website that for some reason you can't get into it through through the browser function. For example, I have a website called Virtual University where I have my Moodle. I've been building a Moodle site. It's an experimental site there, university.us. And it's not for real. It's just pretend, so to speak. Um, but I've been working on it for 13 years or so, 14 years, and I've put up a lot of videos and stuff like that. And I know that this site does not work well going through the browser function. Um, and so I can go into one of my chapters I've set up, and in this way, as a desktop, I can go in. As I said, the browser function will not let me show this, but as a desktop function, it will. So I can go in here and here's an interview I had with Bill Marimow, a Pulitzer Prize winner from the Philadelphia Inquirer and now editor. And I can go in here and I've set up, I put the image of PowerPoints into here with an audio file.
We have with us today William Marimow, the Philadelphia Inquirer, 1978 Pulitzer Prize winner. How would you define investigative or enterprise reporting, and perhaps in defining it, describe some of the key methods involved with it?
What I did was to kind of correlate my own thoughts with.
Okay, so as I said, this website would not show up through the browser because requires passwords and stuff, and so it just doesn't deal with it. But it should show up through this desktop function. I could also go, if I went to, I'm going to turn this one off, and I'm going to go into, oops. Oh, I should have gone backwards because I'm not sure why the desktop function turned off when I turned off that particular website. I guess because it didn't know where to go or something. I'm not sure. Or maybe this sound that we keep getting is a problem. Anyway, I was going to go to a YouTube site, and so I go to YouTube, and on YouTube there's a bunch of videos teaching how to use Moodle, and so I might go Moodle 2.9. Oops. I want to find some tutoring for that, and so I'm going to go to that website, and I turn on one of these videos. Again, it's not just, desktop is not just for videos by any means, but it's just really showing you the flexibility of it. It
Hi,
doesn't
my name
show
is Sally.
a video as
In this
well
video,
as
I'm going
you
to
would like it to.
demonstrate how to use Moodle at Cairn University. This video tutorial is designed to be used by faculty who are starting with a course from scratch. I will be demonstrating how to use the system to give an overview of how the system works, how to add various components such.
Okay, I'm going to turn that off. Probably more likely, for example, we have a pilot project going on this semester with teaching database management, for example. I don't have a good database on here, but I do have OpenOffice version of it, I think. Let me see what I have in here. I forget what I have in this computer. I think I'm going to type OpenOffice. I think I have that loaded into this computer. Come on. Okay. So I want to teach them a software that they might not even have. I want to demonstrate it to them. So I'm going to find, if I can, OpenOffice. I think it's in here. Okay, open office. Okay, so I went past it, open office. And I'm going to teach them how to use OpenOffice Calc, which is basically their equivalent of Excel. And so that should pop up in here a second. And I could teach them desktop publishing. I could teach them Adobe Premiere, video editing or whatever. Even if they don't have it on their computer, I can show it to them on my computer. And that's in essence what our BCB professors will be teaching, database management. They could use this desktop function to show how to do it. And so let's say I'm going to, first off, I'm going to go enlarge this a little bit. And I'm going to increase it a ways. Oops, I need to go down to variable and increase it a ways. Go to about 150% or so. And now I'm going to figure out how much money I have in the bank in Tenge, or maybe whatever, how many, anyway, I've got $500 and we're now at 148, I think today, or not 140, oh, I wish 148, 348, something like that today. And so I go in here and I go equals C6 times D6 equals 174,000 Tenge. Okay, so you get the idea. I can show them how to use OpenOffice Calc, or regular Office Excel, or Access database, or whatever I want to. Okay, so you get the idea. And so that pretty well, I think, completes. I'm going to turn off the sharing function, and I'm going to go back and see if the presentation's still going on. There it is, right where I left it. So I can go to something else, come back, and it has turned on both the side